Hello.
What's up?
What's up, everybody?
Not much at all. How's everybody doing?
Good. Ryan, I see you
Dude.
got in the library nice and early, huh?
Yeah, I was able to. I finally got into the place without having to pick someone out, but I'm not gonna quiet. Quiet.
Oh, you're really hard to hear, Ryan. Can you turn your volume up or kind of staticky, maybe? I don't know. Something's weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. Talking on that. You guys hear me?
I think the static's worse than the volume, maybe.
Yeah. Very static.
Yeah.
What's going on, Ben? How you doing?
I'm good. It's nice. It's been a pretty chill day. It's been a less of a Monday than normal Mondays are, I guess. So that's a positive.
I know. Kind of weird that we record on Mondays.
Damn. I guess you just gotta stick to a rhythm, and if that generally works for people, you gotta make it work. So
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. How are you doing, Phil?
No, good. Good. No complaints.
Good. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate the invite.
Oh, yeah, man. I've actually been I know you followed Greenville even last year and probably previous years. So actually,
Mhm.
got to talk about League One with you a little bit. Maybe we'll bring it up tonight. But are you
Cool.
following Greenville pretty closely so far?
Yeah, it's I've definitely been following it a pretty good bit. It's been a little bit hectic, honestly. I've been trying to figure out like how much I want to be invested in League One and all that kind of stuff. But really, I mean, the ownership group that's involved with Triumph is pretty well stand out. It's hard to really dislike him. It's a tough situation because I didn't expect myself to be as invested as I was with Greenville FC,
Yeah,
the NPSL team, and it makes it. I really want them both to succeed, but do I think both can succeed?
right.
I don't know. It's a complicated question.
I hate that.
Yeah, and it's. I don't know. There's a lot of like people that are being very opinionated on the subject as far as like who you should support, and one team was here before the other one, but wait, the other team was technically here before the other one even though they weren't announced. So there's a lot of politics, and
I know.
it's tough. I know it's funny because I ran into a guy when I was down there for Thanksgiving completely randomly who I assumed was part of the Reedy River Riot, which is the supporters group for the Triumph. It turns out he's not a part of them just because of not just with Reedy River Riot, but in general drama, just with the whole situation. And he just doesn't want to deal with it. So it's really tough. I mean, I totally understand where he's coming from, honestly.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it's interesting because I don't think it's gotten very dramatic, but then again, they haven't kicked a ball in the same season yet, so it's like it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, honestly, I do think people just initially with the shock of Chattanooga and then the Greenville thing, and what the Charlotte thing's even perhaps worse than obviously the Greenville thing, but still there was a lot of immediate kickback. But honestly,
Yeah.
it kind of died down a little bit, and I feel like people are. Hopefully, it stays that way, but it could be the calm before the storm. I don't know.
That's the thing is I feel like it's difficult too because a lot of the people, some of the people I'll say that are going to be involved with more directly, it seems like with Reedy River Riot, were a part of the Greenville FC supporters group. So there's that whole dynamic. And some people are like, oh, you can't support both. You have to choose one. And then I'm like, that technically doesn't make any sense because, but then again, like I can see where like it'd be difficult to support two teams in the same season in the same city when they're going to be that much different too. I think that's what's going to make it difficult as well, is because even though it's League One, the group that's a part of the Triumph, they've got a pretty decent bit of money behind them, honestly.
Like it.
Yeah, they definitely have a decent bit of money around them, quite frankly. And Greenville FC is not that way. They're just not. They're like a small family that decided to make a team. So it's, I don't know. I could talk a lot about it, honestly, obviously, in a way.
Does
But,
Greenville FC get a lot of attendance? Do they get above like 500?
Yeah.
That's really
they had announced attendance, I think, 1,000 or more every game.
really good.
Was that the actual attendance? Probably not.
Yeah.
It was probably more in like the 500 spectrum, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was still a good flow of people. They did have a decent bit of like midweek games. There were some weird days as well with their schedule. So I can't imagine that helped with the attendance. But they did get, I think, a pretty good amount of support, all things considered. It's just going to be interesting if that will stick in season 2. If it was more neutrals that showed up or it was more specific people. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot that needs to be figured out is the thing, too. There's still a lot. I mean, so many things going on back and forth.
Yeah.
That haven't really fallen. So
it seems like we're gonna have to just be along for the ride while this battle ensues. Kind of like what Harry just said in the chat. Like all the way across League One, Red Wolves probably have more money than Chattanooga FC, and
yeah,
I'm betting on whoever has and spends the most money is gonna win, unless they can bleed them dry through attrition or something like that.
That's it. The optimist in me says that, like, technically speaking, if Greenville FC wants to be the best darn NPSL team in town, they can pull that off and be sustainable at the NPSL level, even with Triumph being Triumph and having more money and that kind of thing involved with them. But is that a sustainable model? I don't know. I really don't know. It's a tough one. That's for sure.
Ryan, why don't you talk? We'll see if we can hear you a little better. Oh, we don't hear you at all. Oh, weird.
Can you hear me at least?
Yeah, I was about to say, Pony, you good? I hear you.
I was waiting for the sound check for Ryan there.
Yeah. Ryan, we could probably hold off if you want to just restart. That might fix it all, but I don't know. It doesn't always. Sorry, buddy. We're not hearing you at all. I'm just impressed that this thing's working at all, because this is my first time doing it. I had to like read a bunch of how-tos on how to get this going.
Say don't jinx it.
Oh, that's a very good point.
I mean, you already killed Ryan, so.
I'd already killed Ryan, yeah. Well, one down. I got 2 more that aren't dead yet, so that's good. Oh, man, I did jinx us. Ben, I'm not hearing you now. Oh, there we go.
That was me. I muted my mic.
Thank goodness.
I was pulling up the YouTube chat, and I yeah, I didn't want to like it double up. So yeah.
Yeah, we got all facial hair going today. So Ryan gets that, as Harry was mentioning.
Yeah, which is a little bit ironic that Harry doesn't have any facial hair in a way.
I like it.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Feeling sick?
Hmm?
You feeling sick?
No, I'm gonna throw on a hat. My hair is
Okay.
being annoying, so I'm gonna get that taken care of.
When I had long hair, I put it in a bun almost nonstop because I would get annoyed when it was long.
It's been way too long since I've had a haircut. This is the longest I've had it. And yeah, I need to get a haircut. I just need to figure out how much I want to get cut off, and that kind of thing. I also don't really have a barber because I had a barber, but she doesn't work at that barber anymore. So, and she did a really good job when she cut my hair the first time. So I felt secure in her hair cutting ability. So yeah, it's a tough thing.
Yep, I need a haircut too.
I mean, the holidays are coming, boys. We got to get this. We got to get.
It's true.
Out.
Got my collar. I got my collar length, the vaguely homeless hairstyle going on.
How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, you're good.
Yes.
Right? Much better.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
All right, that was worth it. That was worth it.
Sorry about the delay. I'll kind of reload everything.
Actually, now you're a little loud. Can you turn your volume down just a hair? That'll even things out.
Oh, now.
That's perfect, buddy. Thank you. All right. Everyone looked at the notes?
No.
Oh, let me give you a link. Sorry, buddy. Forgot about that.
It's all good. There it is.
There it is.
Alrighty.
Plenty to talk about. I thought we weren't going to have anything to talk about, so I think we'll be good.
I always find stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any questions about what is on here. Yep, I think we'll waste all kinds of time on these logos. That'll be fun.
Oh yes. Okay. I wasn't sure if we were going over like
Can I go through
specific ones or.
I suggest we go through news first because logos is going to take longer.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
true.
So we'll start with the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, bury the lead.
Perfect.
Not only that, it's just that we got like quick stuff with Phoenix that just 3 players, Kenny Walker, and then Austin Bold, and then Daniel Rios is going to take the longest of that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Ooh.
Good one. It's a good
Yeah.
one. Cool.
And then questions, of course, at the end.
Yeah, sounds good. Mailbag. Thanks for doing the notes and for putting those bookmarks in.
Of course, I'm just glad I'm able to talk.
Oh, have you been sick?
No,
Oh.
the mic.
My fault.
Yeah.
I got it now. All right, well, let's go. I'm not gonna be able to watch the chat, so if Ryan, you're usually pretty good about it, chime in if you have anything. Otherwise, here we go. Welcome to the USL show. It is a product of the Beautiful Game Network, featuring many awesome podcasts that you can go look up. Oh man, we just got a new one, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we're also sponsored by Roughneck Scarves, so thanks to that. Evan's not here, so I'm Phil. I'm gonna do my best to fill his role. Probably be less funny, but we'll do our best here. First of all, Ryan is here with us from Wilmington, but not in Wilmington.
Hello, how's everyone doing tonight?
Good. Ryan, I've always wanted to ask an ECU student about this, and I'm sure you get this a lot, but what the hell is East Carolina, right? What is the explanation to this?
I mean, the school started as East Carolina Teachers College, but it just kind of stuck with that it is a state school, so it's in the UNC system, and it's just now the 4th largest school in the university, but they sell really cool shirts around campus that call it the 51st state and has an outline of the eastern portion of North Carolina, which I really like.
It's just weird as a Midwesterner to hear East Carolina when we all know there is no East Carolina per se, but it's part of the UNC system, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I always hear a bunch of people mistakenly call it Eastern Carolina just because, like, there's a Western Carolina. You always hear, like, Eastern, Western, Central Michigan. You always hear the Burns in it, but everyone has to, like, correct everyone saying it's East Carolina or just ECU, not Eastern.
I might have said, did I say Eastern? Because I almost did.
Many cities.
All right, right on. Well, let's move on. We do have one Evan here, but we call him Pony. Pony, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. See, you don't even know my college.
Oh, I have no idea.
Sacramento State.
No, but I do live near Sacramento State.
Northern
That's actually
California
not bad.
University.
I did Pacific down in Stockton for California people.
Mm. So, what'd you study there, Pony?
Engineering, of course.
There you go.
What else am I gonna do number wise?
It doesn't.
Even though I applied for their pharmacy school, they rejected me and said if you wanted to go to engineering, they'll give you a scholarship. So
Cool. So that decided the rest of your life. That one no.
pretty much.
I like it. Also joining us from Charlotte. You live in Charlotte, right? It's Ben Goshorn.
Yes, I do. I do live in Charlotte. And hats off to you for pronouncing my last name correctly. That very seldom happens.
Luckily, we talked a long time ago before I was on this show, and I think I asked your name. You pronounced it for me.
Good memory then, yeah. But it's good to be here. I appreciate the invite as always. It's always good to talk about stuff. Luckily, the wall behind you, as you may see, anyone that's on the YouTube, is not white and barren and boring now. It's a little colorful. So
Like that Ford City Firm scarf.
yes. Yes.
I say we need Ryan to start bringing in scarves. He's behind on the game on this one.
Yeah,
I have an entire scarf wall at home, but it's just I'm not home. I never record in front of a scarf wall.
Ryan records from a little tiny room, like a study room inside the library. And what I'd like to see is you carrying like 10 scarves on your shoulder, going to the room and setting them up before you get going.
I brought my Tottenham flag to school. I could set that up.
That'd be good.
Ooh, I don't know about that, Ryan. That doesn't sound like it's worth putting up.
I don't know. They're still currently the best team in London at the moment.
Ew.
I have not looked at the standings in a while, so I'm just going to assume that is correct.
Well, boys, we don't have a ton to talk about today, although we did rack up more than I expected. But I thought we'd start the day talking about Thanksgiving, and we're all except for Ryan and Ben, I think we're all from different regions. So let's talk about what we did for Thanksgiving. We'll start with Pony, and maybe talk about what is the West Coast item of in your dinner that you guys have that perhaps no one else does.
Well, I just went over I have parents who live like 20 minutes away from me. So I went over there, younger brother's over there. We don't probably do a typical Thanksgiving food at all. There was no turkey, no ham. It was like tri-tip and salmon were the two main dishes.
Oh my God.
So you had a
Sounds
meal,
good.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just basically dinner.
I like it.
Dinner with family, and that was it. There's nothing too special going on there. I don't know any West Coast unique stuff, at least that we do.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know there's that map, and it's different depending on what show or what tweet you're looking at. But yeah, it has like what everyone has in their region that no one else does. So in St. Louis, I actually went to Florida for mine, so I had fish as well, which is strange, right?
There we go.
It's strange.
Because yeah, we just wanted to do something different, so we had fish tacos and a few sides that were good. But in St. Louis, I don't know. My family does a weird squash, like a cheesy, spicy squash. Spaghetti
Cheesy squash.
Like zucchini or more of like a butternut?
Spaghetti squash. So you scrape it with the
Okay.
It looks like spaghetti, and then it's got like pepper jack cheese, and it's like a casserole. Classic squash casserole of some sort for Thanksgiving. Very Midwest, I think. Ryan, what'd you do, man?
I went up to Ohio for Thanksgiving, so I had another taste of that kind of Midwest kind of Thanksgiving. So we brought the Southern staple of mac and cheese to our Thanksgiving and had like a bunch of cookies. I was forced to judge a cookie eating contest.
Oh man,
Cookie
How did
tasting
you survive?
contest. When I was up there, but I would say the real highlight was I was able to go to the Ohio State Michigan game on that Saturday, which was a lot of fun.
oh man, that's huge.
Mm.
I was pumped to see the win, especially as an Ohio State fan, or like the rest of my family. In addition to ECU, I thought it was a really fun atmosphere to see a game at 106,000.
That's insane. I hear it's amazing. Everyone seems to, at least everyone I know seems to have a friend that cheers for either Michigan or Ohio State. So That's cool. That's a good one to have. Ben, what'd you do, man?
I went down to Greenville, South Carolina. Wasn't too far away, but skirted through some traffic on 85. Hung out with some family and whatnot. It was good. Nothing too crazy as far as foods go. The only strange thing that was there, which wasn't strange in a normal meal, but somebody brought barbecue. I don't know why. It was good barbecue, so I wasn't mad about it. Um, but it also made me realize that similar to Pony, that Thanksgiving is kind of just like a potluck.
Yeah.
People just bring whatever they want to, and it just becomes a big meal essentially. So I was okay with it. It was cool. It was a good time. Got to see some family and whatnot, nieces and nephews and things like that. So yeah.
I always like the potlucker that just brings in a bucket of fried chicken, and I actually do enjoy it.
that does happen from time to time in the South too. That didn't happen this Thanksgiving, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Someone did that at our work potluck.
It's a good move. Someone always does it, right?
Yeah.
That bringing in Taco Bell or donuts, it's always a really good go-to move that no one's going to complain about.
Yeah, grande meal. That's a good idea, actually. Well, all right. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving out there, assuming you all live in the United States. And if you're listening from another country, then, man, props to you for deep diving into Division II American soccer. But let's talk about that. We'll start with USL News. And it's looking like, Ben, I actually saw this tweet from you first. You keep up pretty well. And that we're starting a little earlier than we expected as far as when the games start for USL Championships. So, Ben, you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, it's I saw it through it was an article about New Mexico United. Apparently this may have been like talked about or presented during the USL Cup final, I should say. And I completely missed it. I saw some Louisville fans had kind of seen that it was a pretty set in stone type of thing. Potentially, I don't want to say that it is, but yeah, it's the 8th of March potentially, which is a full 8 days before last year's opening weekend. So that's pretty interesting. I saw another individual, I think it was Stu, had mentioned maybe the preseason is going to start early too, is what he had heard. So obviously the season is going to start a little bit earlier. So yeah, going to get some early March soccer in, maybe some more cold weather soccer as well. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, especially up north. But some of the other things we saw, I don't know if this is totally official, so don't quote us on this, but that there will be 18 teams each, 36 matches throughout the year, which is 2 more than last season. And I think we already found out somehow that there would be less games during the week, less double week games as well. So, yeah. Pony, Ryan, anything you want to say about this?
If they're going to have 2 conferences with 18 each, that means it's the inevitable St. Louis move back to the East time in the off season. Death taxes and St. Louis making a move and switch to conferences. But I think the 2 things that came out of it, and it was Drew Bartow of Soccer and Sweet Tea for his tweet basically saying that the 18 with the 36 matches, I almost feel like we were this close to being like perfectly balanced, like Thanos would want it, but and just to do a basic double round robin, keep it at 34 matches. And I'll be interested in how it would be to have the top 10 teams make the playoffs. I think that was another thing that was mentioned in Drew's tweet, but to do a midweek knockout round and then do a weekend series throughout the rest. I was always a fan of the 8-team playoff, but it's just interesting. And of course, none of this is set in stone, so we'll definitely have to see how it'll unfold throughout the offseason. What do you think about this, Pony?
Well, this is one again didn't get too much of a chance to catch up on. I mean, it came out today during work, so it's like, and I'm West Coast. It's still only like 7 o'clock here. I've been off work for like an hour and a half, but it's nice, I think, if we could keep it early and it's Wednesday games. I don't that you play Wednesday, then Saturday, then Wednesday, then have 3. So if they could make it just Saturday and Sunday games, I'm all for it. But 10-team playoff seems a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, Pony, I think you're cutting out strangely. I don't know if you can check that out while we kind of move on, but I agree. So the 10-team playoff, Ryan, that's not for sure. That's just like something they're thinking about or has been talked about.
Yeah, I think that was just what was kind of popped up in Drew's tweet. It's still, well, of course, none of this is set in stone. It could all be pure speculation, but it wouldn't surprise me to see St. Louis shift back to the East, especially if you bring in teams like El Paso, New Mexico, in next season.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much settled at this point, unless teams come in or leave, which we haven't seen that really. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the teams are set. St. Louis does have to go east, and not only that, it seems like if that's the case, Swope Park will also go east for the first time, and so that at least will be a new wrinkle, an interesting wrinkle. And if we only have a change of one team next year moving east or west, then perhaps Swope Park gets to go west the following year and stay east. Who knows? That'd be really strange, and I don't know if I would know what to do with myself if we stayed in the same division. But it looks like I think that's a foregone conclusion that that's pretty much what's going to happen. Ben, you kind of seeing the same thing?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know that I'm hoping the 10-game playoff is essentially just a rumor, because that just feels like you're dwindling it down too much at a certain point.
Yeah, but more teams make it than don't, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's definitely it would make the already very competitive USL league in general that much more competitive, and I don't know, I don't even know if competitive is a good way of putting it. I think it would just make it more hectic in a way. Not that it isn't already very hectic with changing leagues and conferences and teams and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting setup next year when things are finally finalized. Hopefully it'll happen a lot sooner than this last season, where things kind of felt like they were not thrown together at the last minute, but there was a lot of variables going up to the season.
Yeah. To mention the 4 teams that would be added if they had a 10-team playoff in each conference this season. In the East, you would see the addition of North Carolina and Ottawa, 47 and 45 points when the cutoff was 49. In the West, you would see the addition of San Antonio and Oklahoma City when the cutoff was 53. San Antonio had 50, OKC had 43.
I like the East a little better, but I don't like the West better as far as playoffs go. I'm surprised I liked any of it, though. But, yeah, I guess, I think before we got bigger, I imagine at some point when there were 8 teams going to the playoffs that there were more teams making it than not before USL grew. Is that something that's probably true? Anyone back me up on that? Not sure.
2014, when you had an 18 playoff with the entire league at one league table, that was a 14-team league.
So there you go. So there is precedence. So it could happen. It could happen. Cool. I think we've covered that. Everyone good on that?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll save this next one for last. Looks like Phoenix announced who they were going to keep. James Musa, Colin Fernandez, Joey Farrell all returned for them. Drogba is on his way out, but then a tweet maybe sounded like he isn't out. Where are we with Drogba? Anyone know for sure?
I think out.
I think he's done. I was just saying I was disappointed he wasn't going to follow through on his Wolf of Wall Street promise, but it seems like that random fan in Louisville was right when they said that Drogba, your career ends in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Yeah, it definitely feels like he's put his boots up for the last time. But there was that weird tweet where I think it was just 2 emojis. I know one was, I want to say, the Ivory Coast flag, and he was wearing a suit with a Phoenix Rising pin, and it looked very meaningless, but Phoenix Rising retweeted it with the eyeball emoji. So I don't know. Who's to say? He looked very snazzy. So
I still hope he remains active in the Phoenix Rising ownership group, though.
Me too. I want to see him on the sidelines or doing some kind of statement or just even going out and celebrating with the guys. It's really cool to have him around. And I imagine he will, at least sometimes. If there's no World Cup to go to, why not? But anything about the who they're keeping. Fernandez is staying, so that's a guy that Evan talked to right before the final. Was really cool to hear him talk. An intelligent guy talking about his career. Crazy career. Musa is a guy that was in St. Louis, a really quality guy that was injured a little more, but when he was not injured, he played pretty much every game. Kind of a center back, holding mid hybrid that is really useful for certain systems that can use him that way. Any other thoughts from anyone else?
Yeah, it's just good to see a top team returning some of their players already. I think it's way before next season even starts, but Phoenix is already one of the favorites, and they're at least taking steps to maintain their status as a favorite.
Yeah, so I guess we haven't seen anything about Cortez or why am I blanking on their MVP? There's Asante, thank you. There's a few people that we're not sure about at this point, right?
At least I think there's still question marks, but I like seeing the top teams start trying to return players early instead of waiting.
Yeah, and announce it for that matter, right?
Yeah, that too.
Very nice. Okay, well, let's move on to the big one. No. Here's another one. Midfielder Kenny Walker from Cincinnati will be joining Indy 11, which is a cool move, right? I like seeing him there, and I imagine there's going to be a bit of a race for some of these FCC guys that aren't going to be going up to MLS. This is one of the best ones, I think, in my opinion. So nice to see Walker go over there.
So I think it was announced that Ledesma was joining Cincinnati and MLS as well, right?
Corbin Bone. There was like
former Hammerhead Corbin Bone going up.
Lasso.
Lasso's going up. I think the center back's Paddy O'Brien. Is that his name?
Barrett?
Or Barrett, sorry, yeah.
I think it's Barrett, yeah.
Make him sound more Irish.
I'm working on it.
So it's interesting that Walker didn't take very long to get. It's not maybe not interesting, but it's not surprising that he got picked up pretty quickly. It's maybe telling that Indy 11 picked him up so quickly, though, because I feel like he's been a staple of that franchise. I mean, since the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. He's been a quality player. I mean, he's on. Not that he's typically a goal scorer, but I want to say he's in the final tally for goal of the year with that banger he had against Ottawa. He's been a consistently good player for Cincinnati, and he's shown that he's been a quality player at the USL level for a good bit now.
6 goals across 80 appearances with FC Cincinnati.
There you go.
And he's a holding guy, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
Or is he a winger?
Yeah.
No, he's a
midfielder.
Yeah.
Am I wrong that isn't McInerney on Indy the guy who almost killed Walker mid-game?
That's the interesting thing.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like saying, wait a minute. I think this is the guy who tried to kill him in the middle of the match. And
to
now
be a fly on the wall when they do player introductions in their locker room next season.
Yeah, I imagine their lockers are not going to be like right beside each other. Maybe if McInerney even returned, that's
this could be a sign that McInerney isn't going back to Indy. Honestly,
that wouldn't shock me at all. Honestly,
yeah.
McInerney's going to score. I don't know. He strikes me as a guy that's going to go like a mercenary type. You know, he's going to go where he gets the most money. And he's going to perform there, and he's going to be a big jerk on the field, right?
Yeah,
probably.
It's his MO, kind of.
I say also look at a bunch of MLS teams, since any team that didn't make the playoff had to finalize rosters by, I think it was around 10 a.m. or noon today, and had to do contract and stuff. Like, I know the Columbus Crew returned 8 players, and one interesting player that they left that they let go was Adam Yan, who scored the winning penalty for them against Atlanta in the penalties last season. But he's also had experience, I believe, with penalty with you in Sacramento. But he, I think, was on a loan deal with Orange County, so he would definitely be a good pickup for anyone in USL.
Yeah, I could see him come back for a team and be a decent striker.
I've been scouring those guys that have been released for sure to kind of see if I recognize any names, and I bet there's a bunch we don't recognize that are going to be on USL squads next year. Jack McBean's available, and he's proven that he can score on the USL level for sure. So There's gonna be a lot of guys that could be picked up, and like people have no idea who they are.
Yeah, I mean, if McBain would be a great get for anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost won the Golden Boot playing like half the season that 1 year.
Right. After he got loaned to what?
Coventry
in England. Yeah.
Coventry City.
Yeah, that was interesting. Interesting. Well, speaking of comparing leagues, let's go ahead and talk about Daniel Rios to Nashville. Right. They announced it the other day that he's the first official signing for the MLS side, Nashville, which is just Nashville MLS title right now. We don't know the final branding, but yeah, he's signed for MLS, and he is officially, according to Wikipedia at least, he's loaned down to USL for this season. Played for North Carolina last year. On loan from Chivas. I think this is a purchase from Chivas, or he was a free agent. I'm not sure exactly how it is. Anyone know, Ben? You know?
I do not know any specifics, to be honest with you. I was going to maybe pull up the only resource I really know as far as transfer market goes, but I'm not too sure. I know he was on loan to North Carolina FC, but I'm not sure if it was a purchase. I haven't honestly looked into too much of that transfer, but I think it's a really smart move, really, because obviously Rios showed on a out of the playoff team quality squad for NCFC that he can score goals and he can score them well and consistently as well.
It is a direct signing.
Yeah, is it a direct signing? Okay,
I'm seeing too. Yeah,
interesting. But I think it's a move that I feel like has a lot of upside and makes a lot of sense, honestly, from where they are right now. And also, even more so, if you think about it, they kind of struggled here and there as far as having, in 2018, I should say, they kind of struggled to have a consistent scorer. And they're going to automatically have that going into the 2019 season to build hype for what I believe will be their 2020 MLS season, if I'm not mistaken. So really, it's just a smart move all around, I feel like.
I completely agree. Let's do the obvious, right? People have done it on Twitter already. Let's parallel this to Fernando Adi. Is this the same thing, Pony? How is it different?
It depends if it's Tam Gam, and it looks like it might be.
Really?
Oh.
And that is my issue. I have no problem with a team saying, I'm going to spend more money than you, because that's something every team could technically do to a certain extent. Maybe their owner doesn't have the money. They sell half the ownership to someone who has more money, and now the team could buy a more expensive player. It's technically possible for anyone to spend any amount on any single player, and that's fair. You could be called the Yankees and say, hey, we're going to outspend you, period. And you'll get the, okay, whatever, the hate for that, because people go, well, you spent more than us, of course you're better. And that's a whole argument. But when you use a tool like Tam Gam or even MLS, how this works, I don't know exactly how it is, that no one else has access to, that's not a problem, because you're doing something that another team can't do. You can't, no other team can say, well, here's $1 million, but it's not the same as saying you have a guaranteed MLSL contract next season or something like that. It's my issue is when someone does something that literally no one else can match in the league. That's where it's frustrating to me. It's frustrating when Cincinnati did it with Audi, and if Nashville did it this year, they will deserve all the hate they get. It's the quickest way to lose the neutral fans is to do something that the neutral fans can't copy. The neutral fans can't say, well, why don't you give this guy more money? The neutral fans go, well, you did something we can't do, and it's almost like an unfair advantage. If you want to say, because I'm using Yankees at an advantage, say Yankees paying someone is one thing, but if the Yankees were allowed to raise their walls by 5 feet when the opponents show up to bat, that's something completely different, and that's like an ingrained advantage that no one else could possibly match. And that's my issue, is using a tool no one else is allowed to actually use.
Yeah, we tried to get the speedway or soccer speedway guys on to kind of help us navigate this, and they may not have information either. In fact, I will go out on a pretty sturdy limb and say that we'll never know the exact details of this and how the money is moved around. But last time I talked to the soccer speedway guys, they did say that Nashville MLS is actually more so a different entity than Nashville SC, especially compared to Cincinnati, which was all the same people basically. So on top of them, perhaps having Gam Tam, yes or no, who cares really at this point, because it looks like it's coming from different pockets altogether. And that can be argued as well as, yes, perhaps they're also, it's good for them to give their player to them to get some experience with the possible coach and semi-organization that's going to be running the MLS team. But it's a totally different pool of money. So again, a tool that no one else in the league has access to. Ryan, what do you think about all this?
But I think we've seen that with a bunch of other USL teams that's made the jump to MLS, that on the business side of things, that the USL side would fold or at least either sell their franchise, right? Like Orlando did to Louisville, like Cincinnati is with moving up, that they fold the USL side and then the MLS game operates separately. But I echo what Pony says in saying that this is using an advantage that not every USL team has. USL doesn't have a salary cap, means it's perfectly able to, if you wanted to, you could outspend everyone and win the league that way. That's the risk you run without putting in a salary cap rule. You see it in England, you see it in Major League Baseball. But this is having access to money that a team doesn't have. It's like if we're playing Monopoly and every time I pass go, I slip a couple 500s in my pocket instead of just doing the normal 200. Like I'm just taking money that's not really available for everyone.
Yeah, Ben, go ahead.
I think it's a situation where I think it's easy to say, and I don't love that it's an option for them, because it creates, like everyone has kind of been saying, it's an unfair advantage, quite frankly. But really, ultimately, can you blame them? I mean, if the league isn't gonna put steps in place, because they already saw this was coming. I mean, they've already seen FC Cincinnati do it. Other teams maybe have done it in the past. At a certain point, I don't think the league maybe should or will, but ultimately, if the league doesn't have rules against this type of thing, I mean, if I was a Nashville fan, I'd be thrilled. And really, it's the tools that are available to them. It's almost like, because I would think at a certain point, if a team were to come to Daniel Rios and say, I'm going to pay you that much more, not that they're going to have those funds available, but really it just comes down to having an open market, I suppose, and having different teams having a larger budget than others, which isn't necessarily great, I suppose, but it's kind of the way it is. Not that I'm justifying the action, but I'll take the other stance, I suppose.
I was going to do the same thing. I mean, I will say that we do need to make it very clear and differentiate from Cincinnati, who got Alashe and Adi. This is closer to what Alashe is. Again, yeah, it's not something that anyone else can do in the same way, so that's an advantage. But if you can do it, and the USL isn't going to stick their foot in the business of anyone doing that, then you have to do it. You might as well. Like, why would you not take a full season with a player that you're going to have the following season, and you just do it if you can? So, I think we can and will complain about it, but our complaints maybe should be directed at the league rather than Nashville and Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, because I mean, if you even, sorry to interrupt, but if you even look at it from other sports perspectives, back when David Stern, I think his name was, he vetoed a trade because it wasn't competitively balanced, I suppose. I don't know that the USL can do that, but I don't know. It's if the USL is going to allow it, then I really can't blame the team for doing it, I suppose. But sorry, go ahead, Pony.
No, that's right. If the league's going to allow it, you can't blame the team for doing it. But when it happens, I want like the fans and all the people around the team to own that they're the bad guys in the league at that point.
Oh, yeah.
That's what bothers me when someone goes like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this," and what do you mean? We're still the good guys. We're the hero of the entire story. Like, no, you are officially the bad guys. You made the heel turn with that move, and I think that's part of the reason I kind of got upset with the team who left last year. I'm not allowed to name. Is that didn't really happen too much. At this point, you need to own that you took over that role. You're the root against.
Yeah, so it's your move, Nashville fans. How are you going to take this? Are you going to own it? You're going to be like, yeah, this is kind of cheating, but we're going to do it anyway, but we'll admit it. Or you go the other route. We'll just say that. I'm curious.
Just say you're exploiting a loophole.
Yeah, I mean, Harry even said, are they the next FCC? Or no, that was Alan actually said that. Sorry about that. But who knows? They could
Depends
be.
what the fans do.
Yeah, I think it's fair to put it on the fans and see how they react. See how much headbutting there will be on Twitter. I'm interested to see that. Also, I do want to say they didn't go out and get a DP now. They're not getting a $2 million player yet. Also,
long off season.
You're right.
Yeah.
So we might see it. We might see Rios and a $2 million player, or someone from Germany or South America. Boy, that'd be pretty scary, wouldn't it?
Don't give him any ideas. Let's stop this conversation where we're at.
Well, I'm getting around to thinking that we should expect it, but yeah. We'll move on. One piece of news I did forget to mention is that Ryan Thompson, who's Jamaica's second goalkeeper ever since Andre Blake, is going to be the goalkeeper coach for Austin Bold. And is there more to that? I feel like there's more to it, and I lost my place. Is he also the goalkeeper?
Yeah, they mentioned in the article that he was also the goalkeeper, and Austin Bold now has 11 players, including goalkeepers, so they can field a roster.
A lot of them old guys, too.
Bold move.
Not young.
Chris Tierpak was the most notable player from that roster, so I'm thinking that they sign a few more players, or they should sign a few more young players.
So you're saying they're putting the old in bold?
Oh. I feel like you had that prepared, Ben.
I honestly did not. I was waiting for a break just to
use that
bring that into the
well, Tierpak has that bold fashion statement. He doesn't always wear the headband, the concussion protective one, or whatever it is, I think.
Saw that hashtag.
We
have a new running joke for the next season.
Indeed we do. That's a good one, Ben. That's why we bring you in, buddy. So that's cool. If you don't know, Ryan Thompson is one of the most aggressive goalkeepers I've ever seen in my life. And unfortunately, when he was in St. Louis, opponents figured that out and just chipped the hell out of him and got a lot of goals just by chipping him. So I'll save a lot of you GMs and coaches some scouting time. Just chip him. So that's me. No, he's such a nice person. I have a picture of him and my kid with my kid in a Jamaica jersey. Super nice. Wish him luck for sure. I imagine he'll coach more than he'll play, but I imagine he'll get a few of those dubbing games. But we'll see. Anyone else know anything about Ryan Thompson? That's okay, because I just gave plenty of information. Let's move on to the bulk of our show, and that is us rating expansion team logos. Are we all excited?
We are excited.
We all gave a ranking. I don't know if we have that ranking. Pony,
I do.
Thank you.
Let me grab that real quick.
So,
got it.
Yeah, I'd like. Why don't you start off with what our overall choices are if you mix all of our choices together?
Okay, all the choices available. We did the 6 new teams. Hartford doesn't seem to have a crest yet, or if they do, it's just their name and letters and nothing else. But we just said the 6 teams that actually might have a final crest out, which is Birmingham, El Paso, Austin, New Mexico, Memphis, and Loudon. Loudon. DC2. But those were the 6 teams. So we all USL show except for Evan, who never responded to my request for him to rank the teams. Decided to rank them. And want to go from bottom to top or top to bottom?
Bottom to top.
Bottom to top. All right. So in 6th place out of 6 teams ended up being Loudon.
Wow.
So we'll name them in reverse order like we are, and let's go ahead and just talk about them as you announce them. So Loudon, Ryan, you had your initial thought when you saw this crest.
Well, when the league came out earlier in the season, that league really hasn't changed much to where it is now. I said it looks like the logo to a competitive chess team. It's seriously like nothing too original stands out. It's almost like the generic logo you would give to a team and to a player in Ultimate Team before they eventually buy a better crest. Nothing really stood out to me in this Loudon logo, and it just seems like incredibly standard.
Very much so. Almost like it's a fake team that a computer had to make up when you didn't have if you couldn't design your own crest or something like that.
Yeah, and I graded a lot of this based off of like a lot of standards for like vexillology for flags. Basically, the 4 main things, and this is from the Portland Flag Association, so shout out to Kev for this, but to keep it simple, a child should be able to draw it, use meaningful colors and symbolism, do about 2 to 3 basic colors, and then just be distinctive.
There's a great TED talk on that if you've ever seen it.
No,
I have seen it. And
okay, I was almost positive Ryan had seen that when he put the list. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Reddit page for vexillology.
Of course. But I actually had them highest of everyone because I think it's a very non-offensive one. There's not a lot wrong with it apart from not being super memorable. Plus, I like that if I look at it, I think DC United. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, I immediately associate that with DC United. And if you're going to have a 2 team and be smart and not name them something 2 or something B and name them something unique, it should be instantly recognizable. And this one is. It's not a great crest, but there's nothing wrong with it to me. And that's why, I mean, I had them 4th, but that was the best anyone actually put them. And they are obviously a DC affiliate, and that's why I like it. If they weren't a DC affiliate, they'd be lower.
Yep, I think that's well said. Anything from you, Ben?
I was really surprised that was the lowest one, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll agree with what Pony's saying. It's not spectacular. It almost looks more like a supporters group type logo in a way, but I think it's eye-catching in a way that's not off-putting, I think. The colors are distinct enough between the red, white, and black that it's unique, I would say. And also what Pony's been saying, I'm basically just stealing Pony's opinion. You can tell that it's a DC United affiliate. And I don't think there's anything dramatically wrong with it too. The only thing I don't love is the like ridged parts of the inside of the crest. That being it's maybe a little bit strange. But I like it. It's a winged horse. There's not really a winged horse or a Pegasus, I guess, in lower division soccer that I know of, or a lot of lower division sports. So
we have winged lions.
There we go. So we just need them to. Oh, they can't meet up in the U.S. Open Cup. That's unfortunate. Well, but still, yeah, I think it's good enough. I think
I'm with you. Pony, what's our next one?
Next one, which is right down there, is Austin Bold.
Really? I was okay with that one, but Pony, what do you think of this one?
It just seems wrong. I mean, it almost looks like it's trying to be Vegas-esque with no real. It looks like neon, and I don't associate with Austin unless you want to say it's hipsterish. I don't. I just don't like it. It's too complicated to the point where I can't redraw this thing right now. I've seen it a few times. I know it's black and blue, but that's really it. It just doesn't like Ryan said, it breaks one of the rules. I don't think most people could redraw this logo from scratch. I'm not even sure that many people in the Bold organization could correctly redraw it from scratch if you just gave them a pen and paper and said go.
Yeah.
I am staring at it. I keep thinking that perhaps all the shapes inside of the bee form something or have some kind of meaning. I'm almost seeing a 23 in there, or a
See a 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. You're right. Is that on purpose?
I would think so. I mean, I saw that the 2 in there kind of forms that little kind of lookout air thing that they have for the Circuit of the Americas. And like the rules said, it seems like you have to have like distinctive colors, and I'll give them credit for that. It's distinctive. It's just, I don't think it looks fantastic. And from far away, you just see a B. You wouldn't notice the 1, 2, 3 from up close. The 1, 2, 3 is all I can see, and I don't see a B. And I'm also, especially for the more recent clubs, I'm not a fan of seeing the established year on it for anything like sooner than 2000. It just seems weird to say. It's like, oh yeah, we were founded in 2018. I get that's when they were founded, but it's like it's more impressive to see it on a logo like for a team was founded in 1850 or 1866 or something, rather than, oh yeah, 2018.
One thing about the 2018 is that this has been a very memorable year for Austin soccer, right? Maybe they want to remember, like, oh yeah, this is that shit show of a year.
Well, oddly, with that, or even if you mentioned that, it's established 2018, but they won't kick off until 2019.
Oh, good point.
Oh,
Aztecs was better.
Aztecs was better.
yeah.
This isn't a disaster, but unless there's some hidden meanings, it's just a below average crest to me.
And I agree with that.
Also, a bunch of teams choose a circle for a crest.
I know. Circles are horrible, right, Phil?
I was about to say, I think St. Louis is I'm looking at my text here. Yep.
So is Columbus. So is Manchester City, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund.
I am of the mind of if you can't nail it, just go simple. And I think Loudon did a good job of that, where they did just go simple and it's not showy or it's not trying too hard. Whereas Bold somewhat they tried to do something kind of cool and it didn't quite pull off. They should have just gone more simple perhaps. And so that's what I will say about the circle and fleur-de-lis on my chest right now is they went simple with that, and I think it works. But yeah, it's pretty common for sure. Pony, what's our next one?
Going up, this is a kind of a point-wise a big jump because we all had, only one of us had Loudon outside of the bottom 2, and only one of us had Austin outside of the bottom 2. But next up is Birmingham.
I thought so.
Which is a very controversial pick for some of us.
It's your least favorite, right, Pony?
Yeah, I had them at the dead bottom of the table.
Guess where I had it, everyone?
Number one?
At the top.
Okay, because it's not a circle. Is that why?
Yeah, circles stuck. I honestly didn't look at it terribly closely, and I remembered it being cool when it came out, and I like the color scheme, and I like the idea, but there is definitely an upside down boot on the bottom rather than an anvil. I think that's the worst part of it, but Pony, why do you hate it? Is it the boot?
It's almost like if you're going to enter a league and start saying we're this metal-based team and say I have anvil and hammer in a league that has a team who is named after metal with a long historic, U.S. soccer history, and not make a logo that's better or a team name that's better, you completely fail on all terms. Without Bethlehem Steel being in this league already, they probably could move up a little bit in my rankings, but you tried to hone in on one of the most historic soccer franchises in the United States with this whole steel metal based thing and didn't do a good job of it. It's one of those, if you're going to try to challenge one of the historic stalwarts or whatever you want to call it, be better than they are. But this is not better than Bethlehem Steel is. And that's massive minus points to me. It's not a horrible logo, but in a league with Bethlehem Steel, I detract a lot of points from, right?
So Ryan, where'd you put this one?
They were kind of like in my middle of the road. I found stuff that I liked and stuff that I didn't like in the logo. Well, I guess I'll start with the like. I'm a fan of the color scheme. I like the black and gold with it, and the anvil and the hammer looks cool. I guess if you're going to work off the steel metaphor, I guess what I didn't like is the use of the stars in there. I thought was weird, or at least the 3 stars. It made me think of the 3 stars on the MLS logo, and of course, stars represent championships for it. And then I thought what was kind of or the 2 other weird things was that the word Legion and the stars were in white, not in gold. I would have liked to see that a bit in gold. And then finally, at least with Legion, it's like there's no mention of Birmingham in the entire logo. If you're currently just passing by and looking at it, it might as well be like a workers' union for steel workers. But and there are thousands of stadiums across the United States with the word Legion in it, including a stadium in Birmingham called Legion Stadium and one in Wilmington. It seemed like it was weird that you didn't want to mention Birmingham anywhere in the logo. But overall, I think the logo's fine. It looks good. It's not terrible. Like we were saying, it went for kind of a simple route, but it's not really anything bad.
Mm-hmm. Ben, you want to comment on this one? And even the last one, I didn't call you out.
It's all good. I don't know. I really like this logo. I think it does just enough without doing too much. I love the color scheme. I am a huge fan of a black color scheme, primarily with another complementary color, like we'll probably talk about later. It's very eye-catching, I think. The only thing I'll really say about this crest is I'll be honest, I keep forgetting they're going to be in the league next year because this revamp and everything happened so early on. So I think that's an interesting thing. I'll definitely say that it's curious that Birmingham is not in there, like Ryan said as well. But I think it does just enough. It's not very distinct to soccer, I don't think, is the only other thing I'll say. Like, it just kind of looks like it could be just about for anything. And I think that's one thing that I look for in Crest is like, it's not Legion FC. It's just Legion. I like that it's very simplistic, but it's maybe too simplistic.
I could see that. A lot of people hate the FC thing, though, and want to go back to the old school names like Aztecs and things like that. So I imagine people could go either way on that one. But I agree with you overall. I think it is eye-catching. I like the colors, and they didn't overdo it. I think the upside-down boot is the only complaint I have. What's the next one, Pony?
Moving up, we jump all the way. I mean, the second and third are very close, but third place goes to Memphis.
Ah. And what did you think, Pony?
I mean, I like it. This is the end of, my top 3 are the current top 3, and this is the end of the logos I like. Like the ones where I go, if you did it right, if any critiques are minor. I mean, almost this one, I think my biggest is your name.
Right.
I still say Memphis Final would have been far better than Memphis 901 because no one associates 901 with Memphis outside of people in Memphis. But it's kind of Vegas-esque, but it's the kind of showy thing that works for the city still. It's basically an overall very solid logo. I think it's a little bit bright for me. I think it's almost too distinctive to the point where it's like a distraction from everything else around it. Like, I think if you had a jersey from these guys, I think the first thing you look at is the crest, whether that's good or bad. To me, I'm not sure. I mean, you could say it's a great thing if you're the first going to see is the crest, but I think it's too centric to an extent. But I have nothing really wrong with this crest. I'd maybe tone it down a little bit for the neon, but Memphis did a good job.
Yeah, I think United States is in danger of having too much neon-themed crests for sure. But because the bold, I think they were going for the same thing there. But Ryan, what do you think?
When I saw the logo, it makes me, or I've never been to Memphis, but it made me think of 2 things. Like, I noticed the record in the middle, which I thought was a really cool touch, and the neon sign almost makes me think that it would belong to like make a street side restaurant or bar from Memphis, and I thought it looked good. I really, like you're saying, there's a bunch of neon kind of themed logos in the U.S., but I thought this one was really well done. And then, like Bonnie was saying, the only unfortunate thing would just kind of be the 901, which is just the area code, which people outside of Memphis won't understand. And but overall, I thought it was a good crest, and it's kind of hard to go wrong with it anywhere.
I loved on when they did the announcement of some sort. I forgot what it was. Maybe it was the crest when they had the animation going throughout, the looped animation of the record spinning on the logo, and it looked really cool. I really, really liked it. So I think overall they did a good job. Ben, you like it?
I really liked it when I first saw it. The more I look at it, the more I don't care for it, quite frankly. I don't know. I honestly, maybe I missed the animation you're referring to. I honestly did not notice until just now that it was a record. Just kind of looks like circles in a way. I do like it, but it kind of just feels like a cheap knockoff of Las Vegas Lights logo. And maybe I'm not just as familiar as other people are with Memphis. That could very well be it, but it feels distinct, but maybe not distinct enough. I feel like there's no point at a crest that I'm just like, there's no focal point, I don't think. The crown feels weird to me as well. I don't know. The name I can't get behind. It could very well be the name is just my main problem. Like if it was just 901 FC, I wouldn't love it. I wouldn't hate it, but it's Memphis 901 FC. It's just way too much. It's almost a mouthful in and of itself. And there's no way of abbreviating that as well, I think.
Oh, true.
As I think one main thing of it too. But it's not terrible. There's positives to take from it, but the more I see it, the more I just don't love it for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on it. But granted, if this comes out before Las Vegas Lights, we're probably having the exact opposite.
I was thinking this
conversation
when you said that. Yeah.
Or at least something to consider. Or what location in the country would have like the most syllables or be the most of a mouthful if it did a city, their area code, then FC, or what area code would be like the most unfortunate for a soccer club?
Anything with sevens in it? Albuquerque. If there's a 7 in the Albuquerque area code, Chattanooga.
I know there were parts of Atlanta which is 678, so it could have been Atlanta 678 United.
Yeah. I was thinking Sacramento, but I don't honestly know what the zip code for that would be. But I feel like that would be a mouthful as well.
Area code or zip code?
Oh, yeah.
Area code, my bad.
Yeah.
That's the next bad crest is they use a zip code instead of an area code. That's just taking it a step further.
Well, when you have a city with like 3 different zip codes, and or at least I know 3 for Wilmington, are you just representing that one zip code, or what if your team headquarters isn't in that zip code?
Yeah, oh, no, I know in Sacramento I moved like 2 miles. My zip code changed.
Yeah, St. Louis are all over the place too. So, yeah, I think everyone agrees that none of us are a huge fan of the name, and I think there are a lot of names coming out, especially this year, that no one's a huge fan of. But I think it's one of those things where it's going to feel bad for a while till you get used to it, and then eventually, it may be one of those things where you actually really love it. I imagine, who liked Columbus Crew when it first came out? That's just terrible, right? But now we wouldn't want it any other way. So,
I mean, it's iconic, but it tells me it's not bad. I mean, still not a good name, but at this point, it's etched in history.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see how these grow on us maybe 5 years from now. Let's see if our kids still think 901 is terrible. If they do, then failure. That's a straight failure. Let's move on to the next one, Pony. What you got?
Number 2, which was pretty close to Memphis, but edging it out, is New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico. Ryan, what do you think about this one?
I welcome another black and gold team into American soccer, especially with Charleston and Columbus being the only current ones. And I think it's a really clean design. I mean, they do make mention of when they were founded with the 18, which I know I mentioned earlier wasn't great, but at least they kind of hide it a bit with the kind of just referring to it as 18. I think the only thing I would have changed about it would have done the instead of the diamond. And I know Mike Pendleton on Twitter or changed this when he did a quick edit for the logo. He had the kind of land of enchantment on their flag with the 18 in the middle of that instead of the diamond, and I thought that was a really clean look. And as cool as the black and gold is, I think it was like a really easy layup to do the black and that red from that flag. But of course, Mike Pendleton kind of covered all of this with his logo change.
Yeah, he nailed it. I mean, it was amazing. It was the yellow with red. But also, Ryan, you can't forget the Riverhounds are now black and yellow as well. I didn't want.
Oh yeah, forgot that one as well.
Pony, what do you think?
I like it just due to the simplicity. And if you look at it, for me, I may go, oh, that's New Mexico. You could remove the New Mexico, all parts of it, and I'd go, and if you told me where's this team located, I probably would go somewhere in New Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, while it's not nice, I mean, I'd rather have maroon color, but I don't think that'd look good on jerseys if you're going to have a maroon and yellow jersey. It might have been they started trying to do that first and said, this looks ugly, let's just go black and keep the same flag design. And it's just, to me, this is such a simple, crisp, it's immediately recognizable through the region. If you've ever seen the New Mexico flag, that basically is the New Mexico flag's part of it's on the jersey. And it's one of the things where it's safe, but it's so simple and it's so representative of the region that I like this one a lot. It's one of those, like Brian said, the things. I could draw this from memory right now. I could pull out a pen and paper and draw the New Mexico crest. And you could do that for any team in the USL, let alone a few months.
Yeah, I agree with all of those statements for sure. Ben, what do you think?
I really like this crest, all things considered. I am very anti having the date you're founded in on a crest. That's one thing I honestly just ignore about the crest. I just forget it's there. But it's distinct, and I've loved everything I've seen coming out of New Mexico United. I feel like they could have very easily, and it would have made a lot of sense for them to go the route of the colors of the flag, and it would have been very New Mexico centric. But the main thing I'll say that I like about the black and gold color scheme, or black and yellow, I should say, more specifically, is that it's distinct in and of itself in New Mexico. It's still got the stylized shield that looks very New Mexico, but this is going to stand out in New Mexico as opposed to another thing that's colored the New Mexico colors. I think that's something that'll be an advantage for them. And the branding and things like that I've seen coming out just via Twitter, of course, because I don't live in that time zone or state. It's distinct enough and eye-catching enough that it either will catch on very heavily or it may not. And it's a gamble, but I think it's a gamble that will pay off for them more likely than not pay off for them. And I'm a big fan of the shield colored or shield shaped crest as opposed to a
stupid circle. Say it.
Yes, stupid circle, a generic circle. It's the easy way out because that's the way every social media photo is cropped as for now. I mean, who knows what it'll be? It'll probably be a triangle in a couple of years, which would be absurd. But yeah, I really do like this a lot. I think it does everything right. Don't love the 18, of course, but it does a lot of things right. And it's not flashy. It's not going to be what I assume that the last one on the list is going to be, but it doesn't have to do that. I think you have to go one or two ways with crest. You have to go more maybe generic or more simplistic, or you have to go full tilt, really detailed. And this does a good job of being more simplistic and eye-catching, I suppose, in that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that does leave us with El Paso Locomotive. Pony, why don't you start us off with this one?
So I love this one. I mean, this is a great. Well, I don't associate trains with El Paso. They leaned into it in a very, very good way. I remember about a year ago, I was making fun of Atlanta, who said, "We have a railway spike through the middle of our jersey," and I went, I've never even realized that in the history of everything with Atlanta. There's actually a railway spike on your thing. Like, and if you go back, there's a podcast where I say you should have renamed yourself Locomotive Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense. That's a great way to embrace the entire thing. And apparently someone from El Paso is listening and went for it. I mean, this is everything I want from any team name and any team logo. It's leaning into their branding. The branding matches their crest. The color scheme is good. It's simplistic enough while still being unique. This is by far the winner for me. While I love what New Mexico did, this is maybe the best crest in the USL. I mean, I think it's that good.
Wow. That's high praise. Ben, it sounds like you're on the opposite spectrum, so let's just jump to the other side.
No, I will agree. This is a really good crest. It's very well balanced in the sense that Locomotive is exactly where you're going to want to go to originally. You're going to they're Locomotive, and it's very distinct. I think the other thing that I love about this too is it's extremely unique in the sense of its mascot, essentially, that they're going to be a train, essentially. And the color scheme is fantastic as well. That's another thing I'll really say that I like about this also is it's got the 3 color scheme. And it's just the only thing I don't love necessarily that I didn't really notice until just now looking at it distinctly. I don't know what's going on with the star. The star is funny to me.
Lone Star State. I think that's it.
Well, the angle is a little funny. I guess it's the train is in motion, and I don't know, but it seems odd in a way, I guess. But no, I really do like this. It's hard to not like this, I think. It's hard to really critique this. Do I think it's the best USL crest ever? No. But I have very bad opinions on USL crest. Let's put it that way. I never hated the City Islanders crest, and I think I'm the only one that didn't hate it. So we'll just leave it at that. But it's a good crest. It's a good name. And they've leaned into it too with branding. I think that's a big thing too, is if you're going to go this distinct, you have to really go full tilt into it. I don't know if everyone has seen the video of them. I guess it was the video unveil for the logo, but it was very well done, I think. Yeah.
I did miss it, so I'll have to go back and look for it. But Ryan's in our notes here posting comparisons to Locomotive Moscow, which I think everyone kind of thought of immediately. Ryan, what are you thinking about this?
I really like the El Paso Locomotive one. The front of the train is just very distinct at the bottom of the logo. It even has 11 different rails for what I assume is the 11 different players on the pitch for soccer. Or I think the name is very good across the front. And I just think I like the branding for it. Even if you look at the Locomotive Moscow one, it's kind of that, I don't speak Russian, but it's what I assume is, yeah, I'm not going to attempt, but it has a train coming out of it with the soccer ball as the kind of just wheel. And then Locomotive Moscow, you have that with 11 different kind of spikes with it for soccer. And I think they leaned into it really well, like what Ben was saying. I'm just a really big fan of this logo. I think it looks really clean, and even just like the shape of the shield is very unique. You're not going to have another team in the league with that same exact shape.
Yeah.
That, like, if you do a silhouette of all these teams and just did the shape, you could easily point out that's El Paso right there. There are so few teams in the league that you could say the silhouette, and that is what it is, unless you want to go with, I guess, Seattle Sounders too, which is literally the silhouette of the first team logo with S2 on it. But that's what I really like about the El Paso logo. It's unique. Its branding is just leaned in heavily to it, and overall it's just really well done.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me was they went out there, real out there with the shape of the shield, and the way they drew the lines definitely points to, you know, a Western feel, a Texas cowboy kind of thing, almost like that script that you'll see with Western films or Western wear for that matter. So yeah, I agree with all of that. I just looked at our time, and we were going to go over all the League One logos, and I think we'll save that for another time because we are getting a little bit long. So let me run the ads real quick, and then we'll kind of get out of here talking about where we can all be found. But if you haven't gone to Soccer Loco, if you haven't gone to our website, theuslshow.com, you can click on our banner, Soccer Loco. If you click on that and you want to buy anything soccer related, a jersey, cleats, something for your over 30 league, you're probably all playing indoor since it's getting cold if you're not in a warm environment. So if you need indoor shoes or something like that, you want to help us out, go to our website, click on that banner, and buy some cool soccer gear. We thank DK for a full year of sponsorship in that way. So that's been going. And then also you can sign up for our Patreon on the same page, uslshow.com. Just click on that Patreon link and you can support us that way. We don't push it. It's just something if you'd like to help us out. It almost always goes toward making us sound better with sound gear and things like that. So feel free to do that. And we also, of course, need to say thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get your custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Any last thoughts overall? We'll do one last thought. And as you do it, each person, why don't you talk about where you can be found? Ben, let's start with our guest.
Yeah. I don't think distinct. I definitely do want to shout out. I think you may bring this up later on as well, but 9607 MLS Pod is now officially part of the BGN network. Some good friends of mine in Charlotte do that podcast, Zach Dick and Von Pullman. They love MLS, and they do a really good job of breaking down games and covering different things. I don't know if it's their most recent episode. I imagine it's not with some new games, but they broke down the FC Cincinnati crest, which I thought was really good, well done. But they are now officially a part of that. So check them out. They're 9607 MLS Pod on the Twitters. But for me, I suppose, you can find me on Twitter at the Soccer Goose. I also do a podcast that's, excuse me, Charlotte Independence specific. We don't talk about anything else but the Charlotte Independence. We're in the off season now, but we will be back beginning of the season or so. It is Talkin' Jacks without a G, and that's how you can find us on the Twitters and the different podcasting platforms, if you will. Yeah.
We got a goose and a pony tonight, and the Soccer Goose has gotten me looking forward to Christmas. You going to do something with your handle for Christmas Goose?
I've got something, I suppose. I might as well. I mean, there's a whole day for it, so. Yeah.
I like how you rotate your names depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
Pony, let's go with you next.
Well, I'm, as always, at Iron Pony Chef. I don't change mine during holidays or anything because when everyone does, I have no idea who's tweeting on my timeline at first when I see all these new names, and it confuses and scares me. But yeah, that's my handle. If you ever want to get in contact with the thing, or if any people from El Paso want to give me free merch because I love your stuff so much, hint, hint. But yeah, I'll plug myself.
Any thoughts you want to wrap up with, or are you good?
No, I think we're good. It'll be nice to look forward to these teams next year, see who we like and who we don't beyond just crests. Because right now, that's all we really have to go off of.
Oh, right. I look forward to talking about other things as well. But the crests have been kind of fun to talk about. Ryan, why don't you let us know where people can find you and give us a parting thought?
Of course, we'll be able to talk about crests until we get to kits. It's that close to Footy Headlines Kit League season.
Good point.
But you guys can find me on Twitter at ILM_Ryan. And I guess I at least want to give a shout out to the Curse for New Mexico with their question of why is New Mexico united, which I just love with the existential question. But I want to bring up one point, and I want to ask a question that no one bothered to ask. How is New Mexico united? I want to ask, how are you guys? That's my parting thought.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, apologies to Alan. We'll have to whip out those questions because they were good ones. We'll bring that out on another episode. Yeah, I don't have a parting thought. I think I may change my seasonal My seasonal Twitter handle to something like Circle Crests are the best or something like that. But if you do want to find me, it's Phil Grooms, 2 L's, 2 O's on Twitter. And otherwise, I appreciate you guys listening tonight. We'll be back. Oh, you know what? I did an interview with Coach Mike Munoz of LAFC2. And so we talk a lot about, all the players that everybody knows at this point that were just at the U20 tournament. We talk about them and what it's like to be a coach for a 2 team and stuff like that. So it's a really cool one. It'll be posted Wednesday morning, so listen for that. More coming next Tuesday, Monday night. We'll do another episode and then another interview later that week. A lot of off-season content, so keep downloading and listening and subscribing. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye. All right, guys, we're out. Thanks a lot.
Still says live.
Still alive.
Oh, yeah. I have to.
We're not out yet.
We're not out. We're out as far as GarageBand is concerned.